Dog fans, it's time to hunker down. Join me, Jeremy the Impact York, and Jake the Trash Panda Skinner as we are going to talk all things UGA football and a little bit of everything else. Jake, how are you this week?
Doing good, man. It's kind of like UGA today. Bye week, have a little house cleaning.
Getting ready for that fun trip to Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good game. I'll call it by the old fashioned world's largest outdoor cocktail party. So it's always some fireworks when they play.
Oh yeah, mostly because they have them above the stadium. Because I mean, we're going to get into it, and yes, I'm going to make a case for how Florida can win this game. But spoiler alert: Florida's highlight this week is they're going to get a trip to Jacksonville.
Yeah, definitely agree with that statement. It's going to be interesting to see. But Georgia doesn't have Brock Bowers, so we'll see how that plays into
Yeah,
everything.
we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, if you want to be a part of this show, you can email us at 3endzone@gmail.com. You can search for us on Facebook with either Hunker Down or Impact Media. You can look for us on Twitter at Team Impact Media or me on practically any social media at the Impact 99. And I'm pretty sure Jake will just tell you just to follow me and I'll send all his mail to you.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. Uh, Obviously, they're coming off the bye week. Not much to report except for nothing personal to Mark Rick because I think he is a very well upstanding human being. He did some really good things at Georgia. He was a fantastic coach. I think he got them ready for a Kirby to take over.
hmm
But something Kirby has done that, or yeah, has done that Mark Rick had some issues with is I didn't hear about any traffic violations this week. And a lot of times during the bye weeks, that's usually when you hear about a couple of them here or there.
Georgia
Maybe,
just had Kirby just has his before the season apparently.
yeah, yeah, the real bad one for sure. But a couple of, that
Yeah.
for the longest time was kind of an inside joke and kind of a just an unfortunate thing that they always got a lot of those vehicular moving violations for various reasons. But it seems like they won the bye week. Outside of Bowers, seems like everybody that was dinged up or hurt is getting a lot better. And like I said, nobody got a escort back to their dorm in the backseat of a car, nor to another establishment. So I got to give UGA and Kirby credit. Seems like they have fixed that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm having to look it up now. There was a quote about Georgia. I'm playing the dogs when he was this was I forgot when it was. He said, I don't know, I sort of always liked playing them at the second game because you could always count on them having
Mm-hmm.
two or three key players suspended.
That sounds like
Yeah.
a Spurrier quote, but I can't remember if it was him or not.
No, that was Steve Spurrier on that one. That
And not
was
a and that's not a bad Spurrier by you either.
no, that was South Carolina Spurrier too.
Yeah, because I'll have to find the photo again. I mean, if I'm going to grace everybody with the legend of number 19, 19 what? Yeah, there it is. Still got the picture over here, as I did last week. Yeah, I got to meet Spurrier a handful of years ago. Dang near got kicked out of the bowl game. I was attending to do so, but I was okay with it at that point because whether you like him or not, that's the old ball coach, and he's one of the best out there.
Oh yeah, he's helped change the game. Imagine what he could do now with his offense in today's the way the players are doing it today.
And NIL,
And NIL.
I think that's something he would actually thrive with.
Probably
But
so.
that's enough Spurrier talk. This is a UGA show. And unless he buys tickets, there's not much reason to have him around.
Unless we're hashing the 90s.
Yeah, and some dog fans may not want to do that. It was a little more even.
It was a blowout.
Yeah. But as we said, I'm gonna give them credit for winning the bye week. They didn't have anything crazy happen. A lot of people got better. They were able to practice. Nothing. We didn't hear not one crazy report out of there, and it's not because they hid it from us, because it didn't happen. So, shout out to Kirby and the boys for getting it done.
Yeah.
And I know throughout the rest of the year you want to hit on some recruiting here or there. So give us a couple of recruiting nuggets.
So Georgia's jumping back in for Williams Waneri, I think is how you pronounce the name, from Missouri. Biggest way to put that is some of his family said Missouri to be close to home to mama. Also, Missouri's not afraid to open the checkbook.
Hmm.
That's how they keep landing the players they do. But the door is back open because he wants to still play for Kirby.
Hmm.
And I think his family's finally willing to listen to development, and NFL money is more important than NIL. Georgia, because Georgia does have a glaring need at that position of the tweener five tech,
Mm-hmm.
which is your linebacker role, linebacker defensive line. Raiola is coming on strong in high school. Quarterback's going to be good. I think potentially next year, either he gets a redshirt year or we just roll out a true freshman. Either way, is Georgia set for the future with Raiola there. Um, Defense is looking good again. We've got actually the top two in their position at linebacker and
Hmm.
cornerback. Ellis Robinson, the fourth, might be the best state true corner since 2018 or 2019, I've been hearing. He's one of those kids that it's going to be shocking if he's not taking someone's spot by week 4 next year. Like this is a high school kid that could start on this team.
Wow, that's saying a lot because
That is, and it helps when you play at IMG. That
oh
definitely
yeah,
helps.
okay, that
But yeah,
yep. Without knowing that nugget, that's why I'm like, wow, that's kind of a pretty big leap. It can happen though. I've seen some really good
yeah,
seniors on the high school level. So, but then, yep, going to that academy, yeah, you're
hmm
pretty much semi-pro already.
yeah. So he's been committed for a couple months, so we're happy with him. Justin Williams is a linebacker, number 1. Um, he is lightning off the ball. Like he hits you and will make sure you go down. We got a couple linebackers, to a couple other guys. We have our next Brock Bowers kind of guy since he's injured, Jaden Reddle. Um, he's from Missouri. Missouri keeps trying to open the checkbook, but his mama says go to Georgia. When mama ain't happy, no one happy. So Georgia flipped another cornerback, Andre Evans from LSU. Apparently, we're also after another guy from North Carolina, I think. We're also after like North Carolina State's wide receiver right now.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
know LSU is upset about Evans because I know some people that cover the LSU Tigers and are down in that area, down in the Bayou, doing some media work, doing some great work. Maybe we'll have them on here one day. But yeah, they were talking about LSU recruiting. They said that the other day. They said, yeah, they LSU thought they had. He kind of gave them the notion that maybe you don't.
yeah, it's definitely Georgia's just, doing what they do best. They just text you, they talk to you, they explain your situation, what they can do for you, and like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the way you look at it is just, hey, we're gonna at least whenever if you're here, we're gonna make sure that you're taken care of. You may not make the money here, but you'll make it at the next level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is just symbolic because UGA would obviously have a different form of this, but you just go, okay, do you want to go where you want to go? Or we've got a couple of these in a case. You want one?
Yeah. And Georgia's looking at receiver out of North Carolina, and he's committed. He's actually predicted to flip Terrell Anderson
Okay.
or Terrell Anderson. I forgot how he pronounced it, but anyway, that kind of name in the state of Georgia is always a popular one.
Yeah.
Um, he's one I've been hearing. Yeah, Andre Evans already mentioned. There's Nasir Johnson expected to flip from Florida.
Hmm.
Is one I've heard, and there's a few others, but I'm pretty happy with what we got. We got 2 running backs coming. One is a Dwight Phillips Jr., lightning in a bottle. Nate Frazier out in California. His left tackle is the number 1 tackle in the country.
Hmm.
That left tackle gets put on skates on a weekly basis, and this kid has to escape. So glad we didn't get him. I think he's going to Auburn. But the running back, he makes big plays out there at Mater Day, which is big school.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the USD quarterbacks come from there. But we're good with that. Offensive line's retooling again, and there's a 3-star receiver I want everyone to hear right now from Cartersville. He plays at Cass, Sokovie White. He might be 3 stars. He might be 5'8", 170 pounds, but Kirby will have him on the field if he can block.
Hmm.
He high points the ball like George Pickens. He makes the George Pickens plays. He might jump higher than George Pickens did, and Pickens was about 4 or 5 inches taller. So this kid is a baller. He might be a 3-star, but he should be a number 1 overall kind of receiver.
Does does he play like all over the formation or is he just a receiver?
He's receiver. I think he's also played. I think he might have thrown for them. He might play multiple positions. I know he was a 2-way player last year, but he's been one that's been committed since October of last year, and he
Okay.
has no interest in dipping out on that commitment. That's why he's not jumping up anywhere. He's not even hitting the camps. He's solely focused on getting to Athens.
Okay. Well,
One
when
of
I
those
hear,
kids where
oh, go
it'll
ahead.
be fun to watch. He's going to be
Okay.
one that everyone's is going to be his name, excuse me, will be known by the time his freshman year is over if he gets to play.
Well, he's got to win in practice. That's how you get on a Kirby team.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about small receivers, I got that's why I asked that question because I think of two really quickly, and they're very different in how they play. That I'll talk about in a second. But also, I mean, the kid's in high school, so he's gonna grow. I don't know if he'll grow up or out or both, but he's gonna put a little bit of pounds on,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna maybe get a couple more inches, if not a few more. 3, 4 up at that point. So I'm not real concerned about his height at the moment. But when you talk about small receivers, you either talk about the kind of gadget Percy Harvin who can just play anywhere on a formation, including the line, or you talk Steve Smith, who is just a physical possession receiver that you're not going to out wrestle for a ball.
I think Sokovia fits more into a Steve Smith kind of role. He's not the fastest. He runs fast, but he's not lightning.
But he gets open.
But he gets open. He
Mhm.
makes the play when he's not open. And Kirby and them have actually helped kids gain, that tiny little bit of go from like a 4.5 to a 4.3 kind of kid.
Yeah,
They've helped train speed, so they will train him how to get that speed. And he might be a 4.5 guy today. By the time he leaves Georgia, he might be 5'8", 5'9", 180, 185, and run a 4.4 flat. So
that's moving.
that's moving. I don't think he's Tyreek Hill speed. That would be Dwight Phillips Jr., that running back I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
He's your gadget, but he's a Percy
Okay.
Harvin. He's Percy Harvin, Tyreek Hill kind of speed kid.
Okay.
Just basically toss the ball to him. Sorry, there's a fly. Toss the ball to him and let him score a touchdown. Georgia's offense is set up for Raiola or Ryan Puglisi, the other quarterback we have recruited. We're set
Or
up for the next
or
for a good
Juju.
while.
Could be Juju.
Unless Lincoln Riley does leave USC, I
I
don't see it.
That's for people that want to hear my take on Lincoln Riley and the NFL. That sports show later this week. I couldn't tell you what day it is. Could be today. Could be sometime this week. I do have a take on that, and I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's real simple as to what's going to happen, but you
Since I'm
know
not on that show, I'll say it. Let him let him scheme an offense around a quarterback and play and skilled players, and you hire somebody else to run the defense, and you look at him and go, "No, don't be stupid," and let him, and then leave it at that.
it's that the potential's there. It could happen. I'm not going to give away my take on it, but yeah, it's very interesting. And before we get into more Georgia talk, a couple I guess college football things. I had a thought as well based off something I heard the other day. Since they're not playing this week and they're not here to defend themselves, we're absolutely going to talk about Alabama. Um, I don't care if they are here. We'll talk about them. Just this year with Alabama, we've said a lot of it. We think is they're just not having the depth, and they're not recruiting like they were, which is understandable. But I heard a different thought, and I didn't get a chance to double back because the person said it I actually know. But I heard a lot of what he said. I want to throw another thought out there. I do think it is part of that recruiting and part of the lack of depth. But what if, because this is the first time in a while that his coordinators are not household names, what if he's got the wrong coordinators and that's why it's not lining up?
I think his defensive coordinator is Kevin Steele.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Steele
Which
was
he's
a household name,
yeah.
but he struggled the past few times he's been out there as a coordinator. I'm looking him up.
There's a
I
reason why he
absolutely,
landed at Alabama and a reason why he's available. He had a rough skid the last couple of years, I believe.
yeah, he has. I mean, he was at Auburn for 4 years. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. He was at Alabama for a while. He was actually defensive coordinator before Kirby took over.
Mm-hmm.
He honestly, like, you look at, he's bounced around more. I do believe I don't think he was the first thought that they wanted to hire. I remember hearing that they wanted Glenn Schumann, the Georgia defensive coordinator, that he shares
Mm-hmm.
the title with Coach Boom Muschamp, and he told him no. And I've heard Muschamp. I mean, I've heard Schumann's already told these recruits that he plans on being there for 2 more years. I think he is holding out for the Alabama job, head coaching position. I think he's holding out for that one if he wants it, because I mean, he wants to be a coach. He
That
wants to make another jump.
that would line up.
So I think that one, but I will agree with the offensive coordinator position. that guy was not his first pick.
No.
He was the reason. It's clear to see that Notre Dame is better without him there. So I think Tommy Rees was absolutely the wrong call, or I think it's his name. That was the absolute wrong call.
I think that's his name, and it's nothing personal to that offensive coordinator, because like I said, I think that's his name too, Reese or something like that. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that he's bad or that he sucks or anything like that. I'm just saying that the way he likes to scheme things is not lining up with the talent they have there.
No.
And that's a lot of that's a lot of what I think it is. Even with the defensive coordinator with Steele or whatever, it's not that he's bad. It's not that he's terrible at what he does. It's, let's say you have a lot of really athletic guys on defense, and you have them in zone schemes, and where they're staying home more than they're moving around. Well, it's going to be
Hmm.
counterproductive, because those kids want to fly around, and you're making them stand still. So you're kind of going against what they can do. And it's, to me, that's I think a lot of it is that as well. And I don't want to just put it on the recruiters. I don't want to just put it on the kids that, oh, they're not talented enough. No, this is a super talented team. It's just not your typical Saban team.
No, and Tommy Rees, like I said, I know they went after Ryan Grubbs from Washington.
Hmm.
Look what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy that they wanted. They couldn't get him. I think the writing is on the wall. A lot of these coaches know that Saban's probably gunning for one more title and call it a career. Um, but I don't know that he's going to get it just because he doesn't have the same talent, the receivers. He doesn't have a lot of the pieces he's been getting lately. He's trying to revamp and retool his team because he sees that Georgia's doing what he did, and Georgia's doing it a little bit better.
Hmm.
Georgia won't. I will say this right now: Georgia will not have the run Alabama did, and I hate to say that, but
No.
NIL has killed that. If this was 10 years ago, Georgia would have like 6, 7 titles in a 12-year span, based on what Kirby's doing, and the talent we've had come through, and what we know Kirby would have wanted.
Hmm.
But Kirby's taking what Saban's done. Kirby's not leaving for Alabama.
No.
I've heard Alabama fans think that Kirby will leave because Alabama's home. Alabama ain't home. Alabama didn't make him. He made a name for himself in that state because he trusted
Hmm.
the process. He waited out Mark Richt's position, and then when that wasn't going to happen, he openly admit, or he didn't admit, but he had his agent leak he was going to South Carolina, and Georgia had to go get him because
Hmm.
why? It's been proven Kirby built that Alabama football team,
Oh
at
yeah.
least on defense.
Oh yeah, and I'll throw this out here too, because I say it all the time on the show. We talk a lot of NFL on that sports show. Falcons fans like to try to show me all these articles, and I get so many in our mailbox and social media about the Falcons have this trade in place for Justin Fields, bring Fields home, all this stuff. That's great, but this rumor that you're talking about here about Kirby leaving for Alabama has the same basic principle behind it. The only people talking about it, and the only people whatsoever that you can trace any sort of this story to, is the fan base. There's nobody,
Hmm.
no insiders, there's no outsiders, there's no team officials, there's no nothing. And when there's absolutely nothing, if it is calm waters as far as the people involved, the front offices, that there's not even a rumor from an agent that this is going to happen.
Hmm.
So it's the fan base wishful thinking, and hey, you're a fan, I'm a fan most of the time too, and I would love my team to land the big recruit or the big thing, but this is a fan led story, and until proven otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
No, I think your best bets would be Glenn Schumann, um, or potentially at Dabo, but I don't think Dabo is going to leave because he's set. I think Schumann's probably the only one who would willingly take that. But I'll be honest, I don't know
Mm,
what coach wants to follow Nick Saban. I don't know what coach would want to follow Kirby.
I got one.
Who, who's that?
Kiffin.
Kiffin is the only one that I could see doing that.
He's the only one. There's not another one who is willing to take the ego hit or willing to just say, I'll follow the legend. I have no problem doing that. Everybody else, I don't blame you. It's a hard thing to do, but I think Kiffin can actually take that hit if there is one.
No, Kiffin would be the only one. He would be a good bridge if he doesn't
Hmm.
keep the job for permanently.
Right. Right. Like Gus Malzahn about everywhere he goes. He's the good bridge. He's a decent coach. He's just not usually the answer you're looking for.
No, he'll get you. It'll be a down step, but not so far down that you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that would be right. I don't blame Kiffin if he did, but I think he's in a good spot at Ole Miss.
Yeah, he's building a monster out there too.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little Georgia, Florida, and then we'll talk about these SEC matchups and in our Who You Got segment and a couple of the big ones too. There's a couple of big games outside the SEC and we'll get into those in a minute. So 7-0 Georgia, they're number one. They're either the number one, number two team in the country. I think there's only one team you could argue that's close, but beyond that, number one, they're going to host 5-2. Baffled me that they had 5 wins. Did not realize Florida had actually won 5 games. I thought
I know, right?
they were had about 3 or 4, but maybe it's because their losses have been so catastrophic that you just forgot that they actually won some games. But Florida has a chance. Florida always has a chance in this game, the same way that Tech always has a chance. It's just they usually blow it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But let's kind of brainstorm. Maybe I'll do one, you do one, and maybe we'll decide on one together. 3 ways that Florida could potentially win this, and let you start.
The fact that Brock Bowers' injury shuts Georgia's offense down to a grinding halt, and we can't throw the ball to our receivers. That right there, one, proves the narrative that Georgia doesn't throw their receivers, and would also say that we need one person to make the offense run. That's not the case. Georgia doesn't need a Brock Bowers to win the big games. We got enough talent on the edges, so I don't think that's the case. But I will say that's the only point I can see. That or Georgia's defense has a catastrophic cave in and just lets Florida's offense just have a field day.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. But I'm gonna spawn off something you said first before I get to my point. Obviously, Bowers is not playing in this game. I honestly think he's going to be back. They said 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. He'll be back. I just we already said why about all that. But my question is, and just pick one person with Bowers out and the role that he plays. It doesn't have to be that position; can be a completely different position. Who do you think is going to step up to, get those catches, make those plays? Who is the person that either you'd like to see or that you think is going to kind of take over that Bowers spot?
So there's 2 names that I've already read up on. I think you're going to see Oscar Delp step into that role
Mm-hmm.
because Oscar Delp is more of a lineup in the slot or off, not an inline blocker. Lawson Lucky will slide over into that role, which, by the way, I think Lucky gets 2 catches and makes a move, and you're going to see him to be athletic because he's that good. But I think if it's not Delp, it'll be Dominic Lovett. I think
Okay.
we'll use him to sneak some plays out and catch those plays over the middle.
I'll make sure I get this kid's name right. I think you might have mentioned him. Is it Lucky Lawson?
No, Lawson.
It's Lucky something.
Yeah, yes, Lawson Lucky.
Lawson
Lucky is
Lucky.
the
Yeah, I had
yeah.
it backwards. I just think not only because he has a really cool name. If
Yeah.
it's not Delp, I think it's if somebody is going to emerge. I'm not saying they will, but if somebody is going to emerge, why not be some kid just kind of out of left field, and then
So
somebody will go, "Oh
Lucky,
crap, Georgia's got another
yeah,
guy we don't know about."
Lucky's name has been so when Bowers came on the scene before the season started in his freshman year, his name kept getting thrown around as y'all have to watch out for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch out because this kid's something else. We haven't seen that position player like this in a long time. Lucky started getting that name drop in spring ball. His
Mm-hmm.
first practice, he lit someone up. Next practice, he's making plays like Bowers did. Lawson Lucky is actually a better route runner than Bowers is and still is at this point, and his kid's a freshman. Bowers is good at running routes. This kid's better.
Hmm.
I don't think his name will pop this one unless we need his name to pop. He'll be your inline blocking tight end.
Okay.
I think he might get 1 or 2 plays on the outside in a rotation, but I think that if given the chance, he's the next guy in line to take over that role.
Okay. Okay. And trying to find the point I'm about to make. Of course, it's not going to show me. Of course not. All right. I'll use one of those names. All right. You kind of made 2 points with the other one. If there's a crazy blow up of the defense, that makes sense. And what you said about the offense. So I'll say point number 3. The way that the Florida Gators can actually win this game, especially if they can somehow keep it close late, is special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Can the kicker hit the big kick, and can their punter pin pin the dogs back? It's about got to be on the 5 to give them any kind of shot. But if
Yeah.
the punter can have a really strong game, and if their special teams can step up, then Florida kind of has a chance in this one.
Yeah, they can. I mean, they've beaten the teams excuse me. They've beaten the teams they need to beat.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten lucky. Uh, they got lucky to beat South Carolina. The Tennessee game, still don't know what happened on that one. Utah exposed them, Kentucky exposed them some, and they barely beat Charlotte 22-7. So
Right.
the way I'll say about it is, if Georgia can shut down the run game and keep Mertz from throwing the ball for over 300, I think Georgia's got a shot. But that you're not wrong. That is the only way. It's going to be the special teams at that point.
And not even something wacky. I'm not talking about some crazy weird play or
No,
some weird fumble or odd tip or something funky. I just know if Florida comes out with a solid special teams game, then they have a chance.
I agree, but
Uh,
I don't think it'll happen.
yeah, I don't either. Obviously, we're both going to take the dogs in this one. The spread is 14.5. What do you think? Over under? What? I mean, obviously we know who's going to win.
Uh,
So
44-20.
okay, so you got it just under, or no? You got it over. Yeah,
Yeah.
math is hard.
44-20. I honestly think 44-20, something around in there, because Georgia tends to give up around 12, between 10 to 20 points a game. I'll just say give them 20 just because of a late field goal or something.
I think it's going to be a little closer than that. I'm going to go. I'm going to go just under, and the number popped in my head before I realized I'm under the spread. Um, 34-20, something like that.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be a little closer, maybe early, because Georgia's a little slow out of the blocks a lot, and maybe Florida comes out, just guns blazing. But I think Georgia's just going to have a really good time in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And since we both got the dogs, we got about 5 minutes left. We're going to run through these.
All right.
South Carolina versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 14-point favorite. That's the noon kickoff on the Four Letter Network.
Yeah, give me Texas A&M on this one. I just don't think South Carolina. I think they are who they are, middle of the road East team at this point.
The only chance South Carolina has is Spencer Rattler to play his rear end off as he normally does, because South
Hmm.
Carolina only goes as Spencer Rattler goes, and I think they're going to go to Texas and get beat. Give me A&M as well. Mississippi State versus Auburn. Auburn is a 6.5-point favorite. This is on SEC Network at 3:30.
Mm, give me Mississippi State, but we're gonna talk like a late field goal or something like that at best.
Um, I really think that, but for the sake of the show, I'm going to say Auburn by a pick 6.
Okay,
It's going to be something wacky at the end because that's the way Auburn plays.
that's true. That's that lucky horseshoe they have stuffed up somewhere.
Yeah, their esophagus. That's where it is. Number 21 Tennessee is going to take their 5-2 record to Kentucky to play that 5-2 team. Four Letter Network at 7. 3.5-point favorite is Tennessee.
I think if I honestly, I think Kentucky wins that game if they stop the run, because Tennessee has to have the run game this year. They can't just throw the ball and win. But if Kentucky can stay toe to toe with them and keep the run game in check, I think they'll win that one. Less than 10 for sure.
Tennessee has to have this game because if they lose this game, they have no shot against Georgia. If they can use the momentum off this, then they have a chance to stay with Georgia in a couple weeks. But I agree with you. I give me the Wildcats in this one.
Hmm.
Late field goal, something like that. It's going to be late touchdown. It'll be 6 or 7 points. And then lastly, Vandy, who is a tough out, even at 2-6, is taking on number 12 Ole Miss. There's the Fighting Lane Kiffins. Ole Miss 24.5-point favorite. Man, just kick my dog while you're here. 7:30 kickoff on SEC Network.
Give me the fighting Kiffins winning by 44.
I don't think it'll quite be that. I think they'll win by about 20, something like
Gotcha.
that. But yeah, Ole Miss in that. It's another personal Vandy. They are a tough out, but you can't go score for score with a Lane Kiffin team,
No.
and I don't think you're going to stop them all that much. So it could get ugly pretty early.
Nah, not happening. It'll be ugly. I just say that because Kiffin will find a way just to score points on just to show, hey, we did more than Georgia did. And that would be why.
Yeah, I I definitely see it. That's the Lane Kiffin thing all the way around. But we are to the end of the show. So,
Yeah.
beef.
Real quick before we go, who you
Yeah.
got for the Oregon
Oh
Utah
yeah.
game?
Um,
That's at 3:30 on Fox.
Give me the Utes. I feel
Utes.
stronger about them than Oregon. Oregon's had a fantastic year. I know somebody who's related to Bo Nix, and he's a super cool kid, and he's done some great things out there for Dan Lanning. But I don't think the Ducks are going to win this week.
No, I got Utah as well. Utah's on a hot streak, and they know they've got even though they don't have the normal quarterback in Cameron Rising, they're going to win that game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But for the Trash Panda Jake Skinner, I am Jeremy the Impact York. Thanks for tuning in to Hunker Down. Let's get a Go Dogs on the way out.
Go Dogs! Everyone have a good week.